And good morning the internet, and good morning to my subscriber. So at the moment it's 10:30 in the morning. I've been riding for 2.5 hours. I left the camp at 8 o'clock this morning. At the moment it's 32 degrees. That's because I've come near the sea. A little bit earlier on it was 34 degrees. I was starting to feel the heat a little bit. So I've left my campsite early this morning to make use of the cool temperatures. I'm about halfway to where I want to be. And on my way was this place, Patras. Now I came here about 40 years ago and I cannot remember a single thing about it. So as I was passing I thought, oh, why not call through, see if I can remember anything. No, you won't remember a thing. But I'm going to stop here, try and find a bit of shade and have a drink and a little bit of a rest. And yeah, Patras is a seaport and a bit of a thriving city by all looks of it. No, I can't remember anything about this place. And looks like I found some shade. Grove Mountains over there. It's quite a hazy day today. When you get a hazy day, it means there's a lot of excessive ultraviolet light in the atmosphere. And this is the blue Aegean Sea. and hello to my subscriber, and hello Tom, happy birthday. Anyway, here I am in Olympia. So I left my campsite early yesterday morning, left about just before 8 o'clock from Nicopolis, and I just headed south. About half of it was on the motorway, and then once you get over to this part of Greece, there is no motorways, so it was just a lot of A roads, stop and start, so it was a bit frustrated. So it was a pretty mundane journey yesterday. Got here about 1 o'clock, and it's a superb little campsite. Lots of shade and cover, good toilets and showers, and it's also got a swimming pool. Even got a little taverna here as well, and it's 15 euros a night, and that's Camping Alfios, and it's just outside, about 1.5 kilometres outside the town. Anyway, I was up and out early this morning into the historical site of Olympia. And it just blows my mind when you get so close to history. And Olympia has existed from about, I think it was about 700 BC. They built the temple for Zeus, the big Greek god. And then a little bit after, they started to build more buildings and more buildings. And athletes started to go there because they built lots of different types of baths, and they built a gymnasium. And then about 350, 360 BC, they decided to have games every 4 years, an Olympiad every 4 years. And the games carried on every 4 years until about 350, 370 AD. And the reason they were stopped because the Roman emperor at that time believed that the games were associated with pagan rituals, and by that time all of Rome and much of Greece was Christian, but he didn't like the idea of everyone going to Olympia every 4 years and worshipping the god of Zeus. So a little bit after that, he wanted the temple of Zeus smashed down, and lots of Christians started to move in, and people were living there even though the games were no longer. But then about 600 AD, there was a massive earthquake in this area, and most of the site was just shaken to the ground. I mean, it had been there a long time anyway, and it was the typical Greek tall buildings with all the columns, so it just crashed down. And a little while after that, they decided, well, it's not worth rebuilding it, so let's finish and let's move out. And everyone moved out, and a lot of the stone and marble got reconstituted in other places. But it's still interesting going to see things like that. And just next to it, there's a big museum where there's lots of antiquities still in existence, and it was really interesting. So that was it. I'm going to go for another swim in a minute. It's really warm. It's about, today it's been about 40 degrees today. It's been really hot. And overnight last night, I think about 25, 26 degrees. It's still quite warm now. But there we go. It's great. So tomorrow I'm heading north. I'm heading to Corinth tomorrow. A couple of little places I want to see. I want to go and see the Corinth Canal as well. So there we go. So thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. go there, and I'm a couple of kilometres south of Corinth, and I'm looking for a campsite. Now, according to my map, there is 2 campsites here. Now that's a beach resort, and that's closed. So no, I'm not doing a hotel. Campsite doesn't exist, so let's go to plan B. I'm just looking. It's all gravel. I'm gonna keep on going. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Just behind me is the Corinth Canal. Look at that. And I came through here about 40 years ago on a ship, but I was working down below in the boiler room, so I never got to see any of it. So finally, 40 years later, I get to see it with my own eyes. Amazing, isn't it? And hello the internet, and hello to my subscriber. Well, I finally left my campsite at Olympia and had a good couple of days there. Went to the archaeological museum to see lots of artifacts, and I also walked around the site of Olympia, which was fascinating. And yeah, and the campsite I was on at Olympia was great because it had a swimming pool, and so I made use of the swimming pool, definitely. So I left yesterday morning, first thing. What time did I leave? I left about 8 o'clock yesterday morning. Got on the road while it's still relatively cool, and I headed northeast. And the southern bit of Greece, like it's a big island, I was on the southwest, so I've headed northeast, and I was heading to Corinth. And the journey was about 250k. Only took a few hours, and about half of it was on motorway, half of it was just on normal roads. And then I got to Corinth. Now, looking on iOverlander, there was 2 campsites at Corinth, so I tried the first one, but that was closed, gone out of business. So I thought, okay, plan B, so I tried the second one. And that was more or less for camper vans, really. And they had pictures there, but everything was gravel. And there's no way I'm putting my tent on gravel. I'm not sleeping on gravel. So, and also because it was inland and it was right next to the motorway, it was noisy, and it was also quite stuffy and quite hot as well. If you get a campsite that's higher up or near the coast, you get a bit of a breeze. So I thought, I'm not staying there. Let's go to a plan C. So my plan C was to head north towards the coast and just go a wild camp somewhere. I wanted to go to Corinth because there was a couple of things that I wanted to see. I wanted to see a big amphitheatre that was built in about 300 BC and that is still being used today. They've refurbished it, a lot of the seating areas, and they still use it for special events today. I wanted to go and see that. There was also a temple of Apollo that I wanted to see because a lot of the columns are still standing. And also the Corinth Canal. Yeah, an amazing feat of engineering, the Corinth Canal. But anyway, no plan A, no plan B, so I decided to move north. And about 20 kilometres north of Corinth, I found this wonderful little campsite. And if I get up off my bench, I'm just up there on like a terrace for tents, but this campsite it's pretty good, and it's got its own private beach. Lovely, isn't it, eh? And that's not bad for €15 a night. So for €15 a night, well, you can't grumble at that. So I'm going to be staying here for a few more days. I'm going to have a bit of a rest, bit of a chill. I'm going to spend some time. There's a piece of beach down there that's got my name on it. So after some breakfast, I'm going to go down with my Kindle and do nothing for today. So yesterday I was passing a supermarket, so I bought some food anyway, because I thought, well, I'm going to be on the road for a couple of days, because what my intentions were yesterday was to just keep going north for a couple of days towards Thessaloniki. Yeah, I was going to do that. So I stopped at a supermarket yesterday, got a couple of days' supplies, and then I found this campsite completely and utterly by chance. I was just going down a road and I saw a sign that says camping, so I followed it and I ended up here. Went to reception, paid for one night, and then he gave me a little map to where to come to camp, and I came down, and as soon as I got down there I thought, I'm doing more than one night, so I've got food, so I'm okay. So I'm going to be here for maybe 2 days, something like that. I might even do 3, I never know. And then I'm going to be heading north, up towards Mount Olympus, and then up towards Thessaloniki. I always put the S's in the wrong place, but there we go. So this is me in my lovely little abode. Thanks for watching. Sorry to make you jealous, but thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye bye.